Okay. So just one words, dear friends. So today we have the final lecture of our lecture series of Pandemic Media Space project, in which Ukrainian and Polish composers, sound artists, media artists take part. And I want to introduce you Piotr Madej and the lecture Interactivity and Limited. Please, Piotr.
Thank you. I'm really glad I can be here and welcome everyone. And I want to share my screen. So this is my presentation I've prepared. And I ask all participants to mute their microphones. It can be easier to manage the sound in this way. Okay, I'm fighting with a Zoom window. I'm using few screens, so it's difficult. But I think in that way will be okay. So, okay. A few words about me. Who am I? As already said, I'm a media artist, mostly focused on sound art. More precisely, I'm a composer, sound engineer, Foley artist, author of an artist installations, and a programmer. What is most interesting for me in artwork is an issue of interaction. Privately, I'm also a husband of a smart and beautiful Beata, who is also an artist, and we were supporting each other in our creations. Now I'm studying in third degree, and I'm working on my PhD project. I don't want to create a monography of all possible interaction strategies in arts, because the subject is larger than the time borders we have, and also requires longer preparatory studies. I just want to share a handful of insights with my colleague artists from my experience. Perhaps someone will find it helpful in the research. Sorry. Yeah. What I mean by interaction. For me, it's a phenomenon which engages a participant's sensitivity, appeals for his curiosity, and provokes his needs for experimentations. An artist prepares a set of tools designed for process a raw artistic matter in a planned manner. Placing these tools in the right context, an artist invites a participant to an act, and then a specific form of artistic collaborations begins. Each participant, independently of his artistic preparement, have a chance to experience a unique fragment of a piece which he participates. In a world of sounds, an interaction takes a lot of different shapes. In some way, every musical instrument has this kind of power to inspire a player for exploration for new abilities to create the sounds. Main difference starts when we put these instruments into a new context. On the opposite direction, we have an algorithmic composition where the composers take some conditions, parameterize it, and make a musical structure using them in a sophisticated way. In this case, we can talk about internal interaction that occurs between the parameters of composition. Interesting example is an intuitive improvisation, relies on inspirational feedback between all musicians involved, sounds they are playing, and all other conditions which can make an influence on them. Another interesting example is a music designed for video games, where some parts of piece is strictly written, but the final result of an arrangement depends directly on decisions game player makes during the game. My understanding of interaction is more intuitive than strict, so I'm trying to avoid deep philosophy. In my practical artwork, I'm trying to explore whole area of interaction, and I'm looking for different strategies which can fit in different situations. So, yeah. Large. Come on. Yeah. Interactive strategies I'm using in my artworks. The situation, what we experience now, is good to make a review and an analysis of existing interactive artistic strategies. Nobody knows how long the situation will be continued. Pandemic Media Space is a great project because it's trying to reach out the situation and constructively take advantage of the new limitations. In my works I've done in last years, I've used a few interactive strategies. Most of them I found useless in the present conditions. So I decided to subject them to a critical analysis. In the last part of my lecture, I will present conclusions and postulates regarding my current and future artistic work, taking into account the current conditions observed over the past few months. Most of my artworks I can divide in two categories: installations and audiovisual performances. In installation works, I'm trying to catch a spectator as a potential participant. In the performances, the audience is more passive in a traditional way, but tools I'm using, the instruments, controllers, and scenography elements I'm preparing to give me as much interactive possibilities as I need. Usually I'm preparing some kind of background, tape track. And what I'm doing is an improvisation with controllers, follows the basic form of the piece. And this is first example. Meeting it was an audiovisual performance presented at the Audio Art Festival in 2013. From the technical side, the interaction was based on the light sticks that were moved in front of the camera. Each light had a different color, and the patch in Max MSP determined the position of a given color in the frame using color tracking. This position was then changed into a parameter specifying the sound properties. With 4 sticks, I could control 8 live parameters simultaneously. I performed a solo part with a tape track background, and also Sania Rodobolska participated as a performer.
Tylko ja, moje ręce, ogrom tlenu. Chociaż powraca mnie, gdzie byłam. Drżenie i barwy.
Układamy odpowiedzi. Potem ja odpowiadam.
Minotaur, another of my performances, refers to a series of late works of Pablo Picasso, where the artist sketched the figure of a bull by a flashlight in the dark room in front of the photo camera set to a long exposure. In this piece, I'm also using a light sticks, a camera, a multimedia projector, and a 4-channel sound system. I'm moving the sticks in front of the camera and track of the light made by movement stays on the screen behind me. Basic form of the piece is divided by the series of the pictures I'm sketching. Each of it has on-tape track looped in the background. When I'm sketching, my movements are sonificated and works as a solo instrument part. After making one, I delete the sketch and I'm starting to draw the next one. Each subsequent one is bound to more of parameters I can alter, both in sound and a picture. Each picture is more complex and we can hear the roars of a Minotaur, piece that we are approaching the center of the maze. Finally, a clear picture of a bull sketched by Pablo Picasso. Just excerpts of the Minotaur. Another my performance, Aye, is about basics of communications. This work is related to one piece of great Polish media artist, Wojciech Bruszewski. Yeah. If we could take some frequencies in a specific combinations, the formants, we're starting to hear vowels, a sound which starting to be meaningful in some way for us. Using a lip motion controller, a tool designed for precise tracking of hand movement, I'm altering my gestures into a sound that may resemble a human voice. Live video part of the performance is tracking the numeric data flown from my gestures. In certain moment, the data view is interrupted by the rhythmically arising data noise. The noise is made of typographic signs. When it is more of it, it starts to form itself in a shape of Wojciech Bruszewski's face, yelling us from the screen constantly without the breath. In this piece, I'm also using a background tape track independent of the live performed sound. This piece ends with my part in a duet with the recorded Wojciech Bruszewski. So that's the format map we can see as a 9-dimensional picture. And this is excerpts of the performance. The next fragment I want to present. HARP is an experimental mixed reality work consisting both in a physical and augmented space. Part of it is a kind of installation using live tree trunks with a colored yarn stretched in the shape of harp strings. Augmentation is pinned to the geographical place defined by GPS coordinates. Visual part of the augmentation is a 3D form correspond and crossover the physical one. By moving the device which can provide the augmentation like a smartphone or tablet, you can explore also the sonic part of the augmentation. It's consisting in a form of a small interactive sound sources arranged topographically around the visual form. And it's acting like a virtual instrument based on granular sound synthesis. When device is passing this place, when it's moving, it's make a spatial mixing and altering these virtual sound sources. The altered sounds are based on the voices by the animals, which you can hear simultaneously with a real natural sonosphere of the place. I'm checking it's going on. Okay, that's the structure of topographical structure of the composition. It's yeah, two different realization of the same work. And this is augmented view. So most of the alteration of sound depends on the movement we are making by the device. Perception of spheres is an installation. In fact, it was my diploma project on the intermediate department, bachelor diploma project under the Marek Chojniewski as a supervisor, promoter, in fact. Is an installation focused around a spatial object called an armillary sphere. The sphere was originally designed for measuring movement of celestial bodies. One day, I imagined if we could reverse this action, use it to make the celestial bodies moving, it can be a great instrument. I try to run the presentation in the background. I've prepared a virtual simulated model of the solar system. Each object in simulation, the planet, the Earth's moon, the sun, and some of the asteroids, they have a sound generators designed for the sonification of the basic physical parameters of the dedicated object. The visualization can be immersive when it's using in a dome projection system, but it can be also projected in a panoramic view. Sound is projected by the multi-channel sound system and mixed by the ambisonic virtual mixing console based on ICST ambisonic object in MAX 8. Positions of each celestial object in a simulation is tracked both in video and audio projection synchronously. We can use the model of the sphere to navigate the solar system surrounds us. Each rotation of the sphere translates into the orientation of the simulation. The sound does not correspond to the real conditions prevailing in space. As we know, the sound in the vacuum does not propagate. But the sonification corresponds to the actual spatial relations between objects. Sound generators are tuned according to the basic known physical quantities that define celestial bodies as mass, diameter, density, escape velocity, rotate period, length of the day, medium distance to the sun, medium diameter of the orbit, and the period of the orbit. As there is a huge range of values for these all parameters, I have used frequency modulation synthesis generators, which are able to produce sound in the acoustic band, even if the carrier or modulator oscillators frequencies are tuned outside of this range. In summary, a virtual instrument in the form of an audiovisual installation was created, implementing an algorithmic composition based on sonification of the solar system parameters and interaction with the physical controller. I jump to the presentation of actual artwork, and is in it's from the exhibition in Wro Center. In 1918, 2018. The next interesting type of interaction I used in the installation Refractions it was created during the International Art Conference Paradox in 2015 in CK Zamek in Poznań. I used the motion track by the camera. The process of gentrification can be clearly observed on one of the most important streets in the center of the city, St. Martin. A lot of shop windows and service premise was deserted. Most of the premise still operating are bank representative offices. The building of the connected alpha skyscrapers dominate the historical perspective of the street's architecture. I used the view of these skyscrapers as a kind of mosaic canvas, as we pass near the view. The mosaic is filled with random bits of photos taken along the street. At the same time, the field recording sound collage is coming. Just like a street that used to be bustling with life, the premise of which change owners and finally abandon when we move away. Only the view of skyscrapers remains. Okay, another example is a installation was created during an international art workshops in The Hague in 2016, Leyden Jar. During our visit to the Netherlands, we were supposed to visit Leyden, and I was supposed to be the guide for this trip. As a part of the tour, I intend to prepare a model of a Leyden bottle from the available materials. Unfortunately, during the whole trip, we did not reach Leyden, but the Leyden bottle inspired me to create an art installation that was present at the end of the workshop. An instrument was created containing excerpts from field recordings from our trips in the Netherlands. The instrument has a form of 16 bottles connected to a touchboard controller. When we touch individual bottles, sounds appear. Each bottle contains its own set of sounds, appearing in random order. Some of them making an electrical click, like the discharge of an original Leyden jar or bottle. I don't know which version is proper. So I skip the fragments. Okay, that's a good presentation. Okay, the next piece I wanted to present is a regularly electroacoustic music piece. So I think we can skip this one. is not about the interaction. I just read the what was inspirational for me in this piece. Ephemeridus is a data on the course of future astronomical events. Due to large fluctuations in gravitational interactions between objects in the solar system, the effectiveness of precise prediction of the position of celestial bodies is limited in time. Also, ephemeris was a diary in ancient Greek. So maybe just little excerpt of the piece.